Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks and plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? This lovely day yet again. Today I've got something new and different for you because we are coming up to season 2 of Lego Masters. Yes, here in the United States. June 1st, it premieres at 8 p.m. on Fox. So you definitely aren't going to want to miss that. But today, I was fortunate enough to take part in an interview with the two Brickmaster judges in Jamie Berard and Amy Corbett, and they had a lot of interesting things to say. There are other Lego fan media that are in this as well that ask questions. This was a press junket where there were a few of us that were asking different questions and just getting different answers and talking about things from the past season and what we can expect from the new season. And it was just a lot of fun. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Here we go with it.
First question I've got, after judging the first season, did you find it easier or more difficult for the second one?
I found it easier. I think that the first round, like the first season, that was all new for us. So everything was, just being aware of all the cameras on you and just you have these limited moments to be able to talk to people. It definitely took some adjustment. But I'd say by the second season, we knew each other better. We knew Will better. The actual builders knew us a bit better. So it already felt like we had a head start. But of course, as much as it was easier, it also got harder later in the competition when you realize the caliber of talent, which is really, really high. And then you're starting to really be challenged on, okay, what kind of feedback can you give when, they're all really performing at such a high level?
Yeah, I think we felt a lot more relaxed this time around because we'd done it before and we'd watched the show, we'd learned a little bit from it. But for sure, there's some awesome builders on there. So judging is never easy. It was maybe easier, but it is never easy to judge because so much incredible talent. But yeah, we got into a little bit of a flow of how we work together, how we judge, how we can make decisions together as well, because obviously we have to agree on things and we'd work that out in season 1. So that was a little bit easier for season 2, but no one ever makes it easy for us.
So they know you guys from the first season. They watched you judge for the entire season. So did that influence how you did things the second time around?
I mean, I think we're always keeping the teams on their toes and setting brand new challenges. So there's totally different challenges this time. So of course things are different.
Yeah. I think for me, the nice surprise was, first of all, you always like it when people already know you, but the fact that they, like everything that we were saying, they were listening. Like, it just felt like it almost was a little intimidating because they were just like, okay, we know how this works, where they're like, what exactly are you looking for? Or what can we do? So I think it was definitely more deliberate that if anything, they were much more right at the get-go, aware of how this works and then able to listen and ask the right questions or, really be aware of the game. Where I think in the first season, Boone can attest to this, but it's just, the whole format, everything was new. We were kind of finding our way that, we still definitely, people heard us and were listening to us. But I think now everybody kind of knows how it works. And I think that definitely contributes to how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. They all saw the episodes where the builders maybe didn't always listen to your advice and didn't always go well for them.
We'll learn from it.
Yep. So last question. Applying to both the first or second season, was there ever anything you guys saw in a build that you were like, oh, I really want to bring that back to Denmark and put it in a Lego set? Whether it's like the colors or the part use. Oh, sorry.
I think we are always inspired by the incredible creations that we see on Lego Masters. We always see brand new things we've never seen before. We see things we've seen a million times, but done it in a completely different way. So I think the whole time we're just getting inspired and we're always going, look at that. Have you seen that? And pointing fun things out. So for sure, I think the whole season just inspires me, and I take so much back from it, as well as the passion of the builders. I think that always gives me so much energy at the end of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just inspired by what they can accomplish in the amount of time they're given. And I bring that back to the team, and I'm like, what have you guys been doing for a week? But I also just think, like, the things that they're building there are so inspiring. Like, we build large models in my area. Like, within the adults theme, we can do anything. And yet when I see some of these, I'm like, oh man, like, are we dreaming big enough? Like, you know, could we actually do some of these really impressive models? So for me, it's inspiring, but also, like I said, a little bit intimidating when you can see the caliber of talent and what these builders can do. It's super inspiring.
Hi, Amy and Jamie. Little different setting than the last time that we talked on set.
Yeah, I know, right?
That was just like a year and a half ago, but it just seems like so much longer.
I know.
But the first question I had was, you know, with everything being filmed during the middle of the pandemic. We talked to Anthony last week, and he talked about some of the changes. What were the changes for you filming a season in the middle of the pandemic?
I mean, it was a little bit different for us to be traveling over to the US for a starter, because we had to quarantine when we arrived there, and we were obviously taking COVID very seriously every day. So we were very cautious during filming and didn't go out a lot, didn't spend a lot of time socializing. We're very careful because we, of course, didn't want to be the ones who were making any disruptions to filming because of that. So I think just in the background offset, it was quite a different atmosphere for us rather than last time in LA, where we could go out and about, really see things on the weekends. This time we're being a lot more cautious.
Yeah, and that was a bit of the tease, is that everything was available to us in Georgia, so to speak, and yet we didn't partake in. I don't know anything about Georgia except we went for a hike at the end of the trip to the mountains. But just to say that we did actually focus quite a bit on the show, and we had not so much time to ourselves. But even when we did, we stayed close to the hotel. But on set, what was nice is try to imagine, like, well, you don't have to imagine, you guys have been a part of this, but when you're in quarantine and you're in this environment where you can't really do anything naturally here in Denmark, and then we go to this little safe bubble that once we're on set, in front of all the cameras, you get to act normal again. You can actually be around people and talk to them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there was just something so special about the amount of effort that it took to create that bubble was tremendous. And we really appreciate all that the production did to really make that happen. But it was just so liberating. As soon as you stepped on that set, all that colorful set, it was like this special space. Like, it was almost like we're on a space station.
We certainly felt very safe. And I think the amazing thing, as you said, was we had a chance to kind of forget about everything that was happening in the outside world and totally be in this fun, creative bubble of Lego Masters, and almost forget, like, these challenges that are happening in the outside world, and just focus on the fun, creative side, and focus on helping the builders to make incredible creations. Yeah.
It's actually hard to get off the set. Yeah, we just wanted to stay there. And I thought that was really special.
That sounds like a wonderful respite from the middle of the pandemic. What a great experience. The next question I have is not necessarily Lego related, but considering Lego Masters was so popular in season 1, you two became much more recognizable. How did life change for you after season 1 and the episodes started airing?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is we flew back to Denmark and the pandemic hit. So actually, people in Denmark didn't have the show, didn't see it. So we were just normal Amy and Jamie, whereas maybe if we'd been in the US, we would have been more recognized. Yeah. But actually, the show is currently airing in Denmark, the US show. So Boone, I don't know if you've heard anyone reach out to you from Denmark, but we are getting spotted a little bit in Denmark now. But we had a kind of a break from it and a rest from it, and we're kind of kept away from that side of it, actually, being here.
Yeah, and I'm a bit of a social media hermit, so I've also not seen the online buzz. I come and go on occasion, but it really is very strange that we came back to, again, another bubble where, what show? You know, I mean, in many ways, it wasn't much different. And you're in a town where, who isn't a Lego designer? Like, we don't get any special treatment here. Everyone just assumes that you are amazing and do crazy stuff, and, you know, now continue your grocery shopping.
But I have to say, I have really embraced the social media side, and I've loved being able to connect with fans and seeing how many people have been so inspired by the show and enjoyed it so much, of all ages, of all backgrounds. And I think for me, that's actually been a real positive from this, was hearing everyone's Lego story after watching the show or before seeing the show.
Great. And my last question is actually one small question for each of you. Amy, when we chatted in season 1, you mentioned you had kept something from season 1. I'm curious as to what that was and if you kept something after season 2. And Jamie, curious what happened to those red glasses? Are they the same red glasses for season 2 as in season 1? Did they dust them up, or did they come up with new ones?
I don't know whether true. I haven't revealed this, I don't think, ever, of exactly what it was. I have to say I don't still have it. I took an item that I had in my dressing room for a little bit of time, and it was the elephant with the candy cane legs that Sam and Jessica had built, because I just thought that is the wackiest idea to come out of a kid's head. There is no way they are going to pull this off. And then they made this fantastic elephant with candy cane legs. So he hung out in my dressing room for a while. Unfortunately, not on my command. He didn't survive at the end of the show. But in season 2, yes, I did actually a tiny little memento from one of the builds, but I can't tell you because it would spoil one of the builds. But there was something that I just thought, that's really fun, I would like to have it. And I have actually taken it home, and I do have it. So
interesting. And yes, they were the same glasses. Luckily, the same prescription. So yeah, I didn't have very many changes for season 2 as far as, it worked for season 1. So similar look and same glasses.
Well, it's such a pleasure to talk to you both again. On listening back to the podcast for season 1 that we did together, we talked a lot about those other factors that kind of came up to the top when it came to judging. There's obviously creativity, technical ability, storytelling, but we talked a lot about visual contrast, color, those sort of other elements. I'm curious if there was any of those sort of things that stood out to you for season 2 that sort of came into your judging lexicon.
I think one of the big things, of course, is the show's already been on. People have seen the show before, and people have learned from it. So I think we were really looking for originality, and to see that people were coming up with brand new ideas and not reusing or reskinning things that have been on season 1. So we really wanted that spark of being able to create something original, no matter the challenge.
Yeah. And I think we were able to have a little bit more of a refined, not so much the judging, but our interaction with some of the builders, because they had that head start knowledge. We could give them more focused feedback. And I think sometimes for some of the teams, it was just like good editing. Like, not always more is better. Maybe a little bit less is better for this team. But then another team, we say, look around the room. Are you actually challenging yourself enough? We actually believe you can do more than you're doing right now. So I think that was kind of fun, and that how we changed some of our language was much more catered to the teams. Mm-hmm. And I think that they actually responded well to it. I think we got really good results that even people along the way were almost surprised with. That was actually helpful. That really brought out something that we didn't think we could do, which is nice to know that, sometimes you can make that impact.
Perfect. When it came to season 2, obviously everything we heard from the producer, Anthony, was it's all about bigger, better, even more. What was your reaction to some of the maybe surprises that even were surprises for you when it came to season 2?
I think I was surprised at how much technical ability the designers brought to, or the builders brought to the building room. Where we may have done some testing that showed there's a high likelihood that this will be a tough challenge, that, models will go crashing, or, something that's great for television. And then we're realizing actually the builders are really capable of putting the bricks together in a way that's very strong. So that was a nice surprise, because then we got to be a little bit more ambitious. And again, what we were pushing them to do, because we already knew as a starting point that they had a strong skill set on how to put the bricks together in a strong way. So that was interesting for me. Do you have any?
Well, I'm just thinking, I think that, of course, we have a whole new set of challenges for season 2, and some of them are a little bit out there, a little bit wacky. And I think what surprised me a little bit was how well the teams took on the challenges, but also how the smiles on their faces and how excited they were, even though we were giving this absolutely nuts, out of the world challenge that was so different from some of the things we've had in season 1. I think, I was always a little bit surprised by that. We could give a tougher challenge, but somehow they would be more excited than ever about this, and we're ready for the hard challenges.
Yeah, we had one challenge that I think we can talk about, which is the fashion challenge. that people were just almost cheering when we said what they were going to do it. They're like, that sounds awesome. And everybody was just pumped, and there was so much energy in the room. And then people were just rooting for each other, and everybody's almost like high-fiving each other. And I think stuff like that they were just great moments that you felt the energy of the room and how the community of builders really was strong, and they were coming together in a competition show where they're supposed to be, trying to get a leg up on each other. And there's just challenges like that I think really brought out a fun side of people. And it came out in the models. Like when we saw what they were able to accomplish and build, it was just so cool.
Yeah, that was a fab challenge.
That sounds so exciting. Just for my final takeaway, I'd love to just get a sense from you, how do you feel like you were changed by this experience, even between season 1 and season 2? Now, obviously you're back in Denmark, what are you taking away, or what are you taking with you?
Big question, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. It's some of these things that I guess happen all the way along the way that you maybe don't notice at the time, but you really adapt. I think, as Jamie said, I've really taken away, you've got a whole new team, a set of people. And how do you very quickly learn someone? How do they take feedback? How can you help coach them? How can you push them in the best way? And I think we got even stronger in that for season 2. But I also think that's a great skill that we can bring back to Lego HQ and use with our own teams. And I love the skills that we learn out there that we can use every day in life at Lego.
Yeah, that's definitely same for me. That I think, you just learn how to be more aware of how you get feedback and using the right words, the right language, and,
holding back where you need to as well. Not giving all the feedback, maybe just giving what's the key things that's going to actually help this person get even stronger.
Yeah. But I also just think, like, I learned to just being myself is good enough. Like one of the best things that Anthony said to me when we were on set, I was asking for some stage direction, and I said, like, when that happens, should I be like, or, how should I do it? And he goes, just do it the Jamie way. And that's like the best feedback you can get, is when somebody says, just be yourself and do it your way. I think that was for us liberating in season 2, is we kind of got into our own sense of self, where I think the first time, there is a little bit of intimidation trying to find your way, and should I make sure I'm an official judge, or should I be a little bit more proper? And you become aware, like, especially watching it back, I know that I was constantly touching my face and sniffling, and my hands are always like this. You just become hypersensitive to everything that you do on body language. And then season 2, we just kind of let go, and we just, let's have a conversation, let's just talk. And then it just came so much more naturally. And I love that, because it just made it, for me, less pressure, a little bit more enjoyable to just be in the moments. And that's where I think we gave our better feedback.
And I hope that in this season you get to see a little bit more of the real Amy and Jamie, because we were a bit more relaxed. We were able to be ourselves, and we just felt a bit more comfortable with what we were doing in our role in general. And we're in a groove now, I think.
We can't wait to see it.
Well, we can't wait either. And when we watch week to week, we already feel like we're friends with you. Maybe I shouldn't feel that way, but I do. So thanks again. This is always a pleasure.
Well, before we move any further into this, I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back here momentarily. All right, let's continue on with Boone asking some really good questions. Here we go.
So Lego Masters has produced a number of seasons in various countries around the world, and those have aired in even more countries, right? In what ways do you see, like, the big Lego Masters impacting the world of Lego fans and the builders of tomorrow?
And I think in fabulous ways, because it's allowing us, as you said, to reach a whole new audience of people who maybe didn't think Lego was for them, or someone in the house liked Lego and the others didn't. So I think for me, this whole new audience of people who are maybe reigniting their love for Lego, or trying Lego again, Lego for the first time, is super inspiring and amazing. And I think it inspires everyone in the Lego company right now.
Yeah, and we've been a little bit removed from, our own experience on the show, because we came back to Denmark. But now that it is airing here, and we're actually able to experience what people are experiencing watching the show, I can't tell you how exciting it is just to have random friends, or friends that I haven't talked to forever, or people that just are saying, I just bought my first box of bricks since my childhood. And I just thought that looks fun. And people are just remembering how much fun it was. And I think at this time in the world, as my voice puberty kicks in, this time in the world, I think it's just so nice that people have found this outlet to just have fun and just explore their creativity again. So I think as far as impact on the world, it couldn't have come at a better time. And I love the fact that it is so global, because what we're experiencing right now is global, and yet everybody has this access to an inspiration to be creative and to have a little bit of an escape to, just have fun.
Yeah, I love that. I get stories from kids, parents, adults all over the world, actually. And I think that for me was quite amazing, the day that it stopped being just in the US and it started being someone in New Zealand, which was like, we watched the show, or someone in the UK, or someone somewhere else, and my kid has been inspired, or I've been inspired. And I think that reach is just incredible.
Yeah, I heard a lot about people getting the old Lego boxes out from the bottom of the closet or out of the attic, or I can't tell you how many times I heard that. Okay,
I think you've inspired a lot of people, Boone, as well, all around the world, watching the US version.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. We're not here for me. So this question is sort of the opposite to one of the answers you gave for one of Michael's questions, and it's in the years of experience that you have as professionals who oversee teams of Lego product design, what were the skills that you relied upon from doing that for years to bring to your roles as Lego as Brick Masters on Lego Masters?
I think for me, I have a team of designers, so I always feel guilty being a visual representation of everything that we do when there's so many talented people that have done those things. But what I benefited, or what I grew to appreciate, is that what I do day to day is I give feedback to really talented builders and designers, but then I also have to make tough decisions. So as best I can see it, like, that skill set is totally relevant for what we did on the show. Like, it was so important to be able to acknowledge that everybody in that room is amazing. They're all great builders. And it's a little bit intimidating for the average person to know how to then make them better, or to give feedback, or to challenge them, when you know everybody there is just amazing. And luckily, that's what we do every day. Is you have to kind of take a bit of humble pie and just say, everybody in this room is probably more talented than I am to do these certain things, but I need to bring that talent out of them, or inspire them to put it into something that they didn't even know they could accomplish. So for me, that's where the two skills that I would say I brought to it.
Wow, that was such a good answer. I don't even think I can add to it. But no, I think communication is probably the biggest thing. Is the biggest thing that, and also there's something that we learned and adapted on, have really honed and really thought about what's the best ways to communicate. But I think that's one thing. And then the fact that I guess we are surrounded by bricks all the time. We are so hands-on, we are using them, we are interacting with teams building and very quickly adapting and prototyping and testing and trying things. I think the familiarity with the bricks and the system and giving feedback specifically on using the bricks and how to adapt things. I think for me, that also is a big thing that we breathe that every day.
Yeah, I guess I kind of took that for granted, that we know what works or doesn't work on many levels for strength, or, bringing focus or color usage. So we can bring all of that in as well. But, like I said, just being in that room of talented builders, it's amazing.
Awesome. Okay, one more from me. A devious sorcerer traps you in a magic room where you are forced to spend eternity refining just one of your past product designs. Which one would you choose?
Emerald Knight for me. The train, as soon as it launched, everybody had ideas on how it could have been better, and I agreed. So I learned a lot, but I would say that's one that I have no issues with saying that I could go back and revisit that one.
Do we have extra bricks?
Oh, sure.
In this room.
You have the brick pit.
I mean, I think there's so many I could do, and saying a dots one would be natural because you can always redesign dots and make it better and change it. But I think probably Stephanie's house from Lego Friends, because if I went back to it, I probably would bring more color, and I think that thing could just get bigger and bigger, and I could expand it and make it much more exciting. But I love the kind of doll's house play of it, so I would also like to play with it a little bit.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Great to see you again.
Hey guys, how are y'all? So you're all human. Everybody on that show is human. So how do you bring in the human factor, being a judge, when you've got to basically tell somebody at the end, hey, your build was cool, it just wasn't good enough this week? How does that play on your emotion of having to tell somebody, not this time?
I think it actually, in some ways for me, it's the opposite. It's how do you get the human factor out of it? sometimes, and how do you deliver that news, because it is really tough. And a lot of the times when we're doing eliminations, we really have to, you know, psych each other up and get ready, because we know how much it means to people. We know how hard it is. So I think sometimes it's a little bit trying to hold back the emotions and trying not to have the tears, and trying to also give a really clear and objective explanation to why that team is going home, because someone cares so much about it, has tried so hard. You need to give them a good reason and validate for them why you've made that decision.
Yeah, I think that's what we learned from the first season, is just how valuable it is that you just went through this amazing experience, that you poured all of your heart and soul and creativity into it, and somehow it wasn't good enough and you're going home. Why? Like, you don't want to have that echoing in your head for the rest of eternity, like all of that, and I don't even know why I went home. And so to Amy's point, it really is important that as best we can give some words. They don't have to necessarily connect with them at that moment, but they will probably reflect back on them later, and we want to make sure that they're meaningful. But on the emotional side, it was tough, because especially the first season, I cried every elimination. I was a mess, and it's just because you really start to know these people, and they become friends, and you want all of them to succeed, but you know also you have to send somebody home. If anything, I think the second season, I went into it knowing that already, and trying to prepare myself. Like, you know, we need to somehow get more comfortable with this idea that people are going home. But it still doesn't get easy. Like, you still can't help but, like, we're just about to go on, and Amy and I will be like, are you ready? And we're like, I don't know. Like, you have this moment of doubt where you're just like, oh, okay, you know, and then, like I said, as long as you can deliver it in a way that they understand and is meaningful, we both ultimately feel good that when we make a decision, it's both of us. There's no I in this decision. Yeah. And that's where we can always feel good that we gave ourselves the opportunity to have a proper conversation, exhaustively sometimes, that we've gone back and forth. But in the end, we both know that is the right decision. Yeah. And then we just want to make sure that when people go home, they feel that we put the effort in, that we really cared. And then now here's why.
But it is tough. And we try to make sure that we also have the human side and have a chat. And even if it's off camera, have a little chit chat and make people feel like, okay, I've had a good experience here, because it's awesome that they've got that far and that they've even been on the show. Yeah.
On the flip side, I'm sorry if I'm taking too long, but I also have to be careful not to get too excited. on an emotional level, there are some things that I've seen, especially in season 2, that I got really excited. Like, I was just giddy happy.
Like, rein it back in, Jamie. Don't give away all the cards.
And there was even a moment where Will is just like, whoa, Jamie, like, calm down. But, you know, it is really exciting when you already have an expectation that's so high, and then you just see something that totally blindsides you. That is just like, whoa, that is awesome. I need to be careful not to overstate my enthusiasm, but sometimes there are just things that you see that are just like, wow, that was really, really fresh or fun. I don't know where it's going to go, but I just love that you thought of that. So the emotion goes both ways.
So during the casting process, I had an opportunity to talk to a bunch of different people that would have been potential contestants or could have been potential contestants. And a lot of the reoccurring theme that I was hearing is, well, I don't feel that I'm good enough. I'm just not that good enough. So what words of encouragement would you offer to anybody moving forward that reads this or is listening to this that may consider trying out for a future season?
Well, I think first of all, believe in yourself, because you probably are good enough. You're probably great. So I think believing in yourself is the first step. But I also think taking feedback and learning where you're not as strong is great, or where you think your weaknesses are, and actually working on them and challenging yourself and trying to grow in them, because we can all be better builders. We can all be better creatives. So have confidence in yourself, but also find the places that you can grow so that you can find the confidence you need.
Yeah, and just to echo that a little bit, a lot of times people just look at what they don't have to offer. And what they don't realize is it's Lego Masters. It's a team. There's always a complementary skill set that you can balance. So if you know that you don't feel comfortable in certain areas, balance yourself and find that team member that brings out the best in you and complements you. So I think that's the best thing I would say is approach it with a team mentality, because that's ultimately how you progress and win the show, is because you're actually aware of your abilities and maximizing what you're good at, and then allowing somebody else to take the other.
And I think we even have teams in the show in both seasons who didn't have a lot of confidence in themselves. And Jamie and I are really trying to be like, you guys are good. Like, you need the confidence, you need to believe in yourself. And when they just find the confidence in themselves, I mean, they didn't get better builders. They just found that within themselves. Then you got much better builds and much better results out of them.
Lastly, if you could be in this show in an all-star format, and what I mean by that is you guys paired up and took on past seasons winners, the pairs of previous seasons. I know we're only into season 2, but I'm just thinking down the line. If you could be in a show like that, what would it look like to you as a contestant or just in general?
I mean, I think Jamie and I talk about this quite a lot because we're always standing in the sidelines being like, oh, this idea is amazing, or why doesn't this team just do this? Or I just want to get my hands on the bricks and try this idea out, and we're full of ideas. Yeah. But the time, I think, is the thing that would get both of us, because we love to slow build. We love to take our time. We love to step back and see, is that the right color? Is that the right shape? So I think the time would be our big challenge, right, Jamie?
Yeah, I was joking about this before, how I would be absolutely terrible for TV on this show, because I spend the whole beginning of the challenge where I'm just thinking, and I just need to get my head around, what are they asking? What's a new twist on this? And I actually can spend a reasonable amount of time that looks terrible for television just thinking. And so Amy would be like, so what do you want to do? And Amy's usually, much more of the energy. Like, and I'm like, I need a second to think. And normally we're the opposite, because Amy's normally the one that's like, okay, I just need a moment to process. And then I'll just like, okay, I'll talk while you're thinking. And then we complement each other. But when it comes to building, I have a sense we might be the opposite, where I'm going to be the one that gets to become an introvert and thinking. And then Amy's just like, let's do this.
Give me the bricks.
And she starts dotting everything and tiling everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, we don't even know what we're doing. Why are we tiling? And I don't know. I think we'd have to practice a little bit.
But we have so much respect for the teams on the show, because not only are we asking them to do really tough challenges and make amazing builds, but the time is really against them. And it's a lot of pressure to be under with that clock above your head.
Yeah. I think they made the clock 3 studs bigger this time just to put pressure on people.
Well, I appreciate talking to you guys, and just like Megan said, hopefully again in the future.
Yeah, we look forward to it
too. Thank you.
Well, if that doesn't wrap it up in a tiny, beautiful bow, I don't know what does. Great interview, and Amy and Jamie are some of the most knowledgeable, interesting people to talk to. Any Lego designer is interesting to talk to, but the fact that they're on the show, the fact that they have already done this, they already know what they're going through, it just kind of pops it up, it just makes it a little more exciting heading into season 2. And I'll be curious to see what the builds are. And so what we're going to be doing for season 2, we are going to do a, hey, what did you think of the show discussion, and post it up. I'd love to know what your opinions are. If you want to join in the collaboration, you want to join in the discussion, you're more than welcome to. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to season 2. I'm really looking forward to the builds, because at the end of the day, that's really what I want to see. I don't really care about all the other presentation stuff from Fox. I want to see these cool Lego builds. I want to see what they can do. So with that said, we will be back right around the corner with another episode of more sets and other information. Plus, the interview with Will Arnett will be coming here in the next few days, just before we get to June 1st and the show going live, airing on Fox. So stay tuned for that. I'm out of here, and as always, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.